Why, hello, Vortex. You're looking sexy in there. You pretending to be sexy is pretty amusing. It is. It is because, like, in my head, I'm a housewife in a nice floral dress, and I am making meatloaf for my husband, and I do not burn it. I do not burn it because I do not want the shit to get beat out of me. I'm kidding. That's not okay. That's not okay. Men should not beat their wives, but women shouldn't beat their husbands either. You know? That should just be a general rule. Like, why do we even have to make that a rule? That should just be obvious, you know? Don't beat up other people. But no, we gotta make it about women. Anyway. So, I just made plans. Sorta, kind of, not really. How do stoners make plans? Like, hey, you wanna smoke some weed? Yeah, sure. That's it. That's it. But, hold on. I'm gonna get you a little closer to me, Vortex. Oh, God. Okay. Do you hear that sound? That sound? But it's from my engine. Now, I don't have a check engine light on, though, so what I'm asking, Vortex, is that a normal-ass sound? Or am I just freaking out for no reason? Oh, shit. I just saw a Don't Tread on Me snake. That's exciting. I've been thinking about my cats this whole time that I've been at work. I think I need to do different stuff when I do stand-up comedy. I'm tired of doing the same thing. A lot of people see me perform one time and they're like, holy shit, you're so original, you're so interesting, you're so innovative, and I don't believe that shit. I think that they've just never met a motherfucker like me in their entire life. And just because they've never met a motherfucker like me in their entire life doesn't mean that I'm all the things that they say that I am, you know? It's good to be cognizant of that, because I think that creative people, artists, comedians that do actual jokes, they let it get to their head. And I think that there's like this air of total pretentiousness right now. I mean, and there's always that air of pretentiousness when you do art in general, but it's like people that do comedy right now, and I'll just go ahead and blame politics, but it's like people, they feel like they're speaking truth to power. That's really funny. That's really, really funny. And the reason why that's funny is because most of these people don't know what the truth is. And if they don't know what the truth is, how the fuck do they know who really has all the power? You know? Food for thought, y'all. Food for thought. I mean,
a lot of the time, I think people are just doing it for their egos. They're doing it because they got nothing better to do with their life, you know? And so they can lie to themselves and be like, I'm creative. I do comedy. And then, of course, they get the fucking pat on the back from, like, everybody they know that's not brave enough to get up there and do stand-up. I mean, is it brave? Somewhat, yeah. Getting up there and saying some shit into a microphone and being judged the entire time. Like, yeah, that's somewhat brave, but I really think that most people do it just for the fucking validation, you know? Just for the idea that they're doing something important. The idea that they're doing something meaningful. When that may or may not be true. But people don't really give a fuck about what may or may not be true, you know? They really don't. But, you know, something I have noticed every time I do comedy is that people that watch comedy are pretty fucking retarded. And that is a correct use of that word. And people that watch it typically don't know anything. Cause like, there are jokes that I do that I know are fucking good jokes. I know they're good jokes. I know they're smart. I know that they're clever. And yet, nobody understands them. So clearly, these people in the audience are not living in the same world that I'm living in. Now, I could usually attribute that to my disorder, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But I think there's more to it than that. I think that people have a general problem absorbing anything that makes them have to think. You know, it's like if it requires too much thought and effort, they put it away, or they banish it, or they don't look at it anymore. But people like me, you know, anytime that something makes me think, I'm like, dude, let me put that up so I can look at it later and give it my full, undivided attention. That's why, like, if somebody tells me something that's kind of fucked up, and they're like, oh, hey, let's look it up. I'm like, no. Let's not. Let's wait. I'll look it up when I get home. Don't worry. I promise you. You have my word. I will look that shit up. I write it down on my hand, and I look it up when I get home, so that way I can do a fuck ton of research on the subject. Because a lot of times when somebody brings something to your attention and you haven't heard about it, they'll just tell you whatever is like the most popular thing in relation to that. So, you know, like, if, say, like, an abortion bill just got passed, or something happened at the border. Oh, no. Say something happens at the border, abortion bill gets passed. What else? What else is hot news? LGBT squared is making a fuss again. Yeah, like, you hear about like the most popular thing, you hear about like what the important people are talking about, but you don't really get a general idea of what is actually happening. You just get a general idea of what these important people think is happening. So it's like people jump to the conclusion a lot quicker than they can write down the details of an event. And if you read enough newspaper articles, you start to notice a pattern in the way that they tell these stories, you know? And especially if you read like the New York Times, Washington Post, LA Times, Chicago Tribune, those major mainstream media publications, you know, oftentimes the entire article will be nothing like the headline. The headline is very misleading. But the people that work at the New York Times are pretty smart, because they figured out that most people don't read the news story. They just look at the headline and they freak the fuck out, you know? Or if they read the story, they skim it. But if you sort of read between the lines, as they suggest, it's quite obvious that they have ill intention behind publishing a lot of this shit. Like, you can tell just by the way that something is written how much propaganda is there and how much truth is there. Now, every once in a while, the mainstream media will sprinkle in a little bit of truth. That's what we call gaslighting. That's how they trip everybody up, because they want to seem like they're reliable. So if they seem like they're reliable to a bunch of fucking droids, all they have to do is just print something that is somewhat true, is somewhat relatable, is something that people can't totally deny, and then they seem slightly credible, right? Well, you're talking to somebody that's been reading between the lines long before she even knew how to read, period, point blank. I think I got snot dripping out of my nose. Forgive me, y'all. Forgive me. But yeah, it's fucked up, man. It's fucked up, all this stuff that people keep getting away with. And what's even more fucked up about it is that people complaining the most about this president and all the shit that he's done, or all the shit that he hasn't done, those are people that go right along with this bullshit. And it's the bullshit that got him elected, you know? So it's one of those, like, the root of the problem type situations, but they'd rather just look at the problem and point at it and yell at it and call it names than, you know, do a little digging. But that's society, folks. It's just laziness, really. But I don't think that either side has like the be all and end all solutions, and I think that that's a major problem, is that we keep trying to find something that's going to work for everybody. I don't think that that's possible, you guys. First of all, there's no such thing as a happy medium, all right? People are so determined to be unhappy that it doesn't matter what you do for them, nothing's going to be good enough, you know? Hold on a second, I gotta fix my nose ring. Looks like a fish hook. It's okay. I'd actually prefer the nose ring. That's why I got my nose pierced in the first place, because I like the rings. I don't really like the gems, but the gems are a little bit more popular, especially now. Nose ring, that was like an 80s thing. 80s, really? I think it was 90s. Late 80s, early 90s, whatever. Oh, shit. But I think that you know what I'm talking about. Like, there's no way that we could, like, fix abortion, you know? Because in order to fix abortion, we'd have to, like, encourage
human beings to start being sexually responsible again. Do you think that's going to happen? Hell no. What about immigration? What do you think we should do about that? Like, there's really not much we can do about it, you know, since both the left and the right, like, won't talk about, like, how our schools are overpopulated, our hospitals are overpopulated, and the reason for that is, you know, there are too many people here. Well, what do? Do we just kill some of them? Do we put them in an internment camp? Do we send them away? What do we do? You know, well, I mean, I would suggest we don't bring in more people, but, you know, since that's out, it's like we're kind of just stuck with this shit, you know? And that's not me, like, hating on brown people, no matter what likes to be said. I mean, there are plenty of people that are against immigration, and that's totally why they're against it. But I would be against immigration whether it's black people, brown people, white people, yellow people. You know, if there were green people, blue people, purple people, I would say I don't want those people here either, you know? Like, if it was Canadians or if it was, you know, like white Anglo-Saxons, you know, from wherever, Russia, England, Australia, that's still people, extra people. So it's not about color, it's about numbers. But you can't even have that conversation, though, because people are going to get all upset about it, you know? Like, I understand why my friend got mad at me because he's an anchor baby, you know? So him being an anchor baby, of course he's going to be defensive of, like, all these kids that are getting put in cages and separated from their parents and booted out of the country all because, you know, they wanted to start a better life. I get that. I really do. But I also get all this other shit. And, like, so many things can be true at once. So many things. There's no solution. All these people fighting about solutions. Maybe if we accepted that there wasn't a clear-cut solution, then we could, you know, create a path that would lead us down, you know, to a better, more idealistic situation. I don't fucking know. I mean, we're pretty doomed, but whatever. You know, I don't want to be totally cynical about everything, but at the same time, I don't want to be optimistic either, because, you know, optimism's for fucking suckers. So with that, I'll end this video. Goodbye.